Video games have a massive stigma in society, especially in the health aspect of society. Just because people play their video games almost every day, people assume that it's just rotting people's brains and making them incompetent. Now obviously, there are some good and bad effects of playing video games, and some weigh heavily more than others. Unfortunately, you can't change the entire world's view on video games, but perhaps this video may give some insight to those who believe that video games are needlessly violent and time wasters. To start on a really dark but serious note, exceedingly long play sessions can have horrible consequences. A 33-year-old man from Korea died after playing video games for 650 hours straight. You have to admire this unknown man's dedication, but it is a sad story. He barely ate or had time to drink. He was very invested in his game, which led to his death. Games aren't usually played for that length of time, and so you can't really hold this incident against every gamer in the world. But it is a sign that extensive playtime can cause serious outcomes. I'm not saying that if you play for 5 hours you will die, but if you play constantly and only stop briefly, it can be a dangerous game to play, no pun intended, and one that I'm not willing to partake in. Some consider video games to be an outlet. People might be tired of being pushed around at school, work, or even everyday life, and so want to feel powerful through the means of video games. For example, in Skyrim, you go from being a prisoner to being the most powerful person in the world. It's a means of escapism to let out a power fantasy in a world where there are no real consequences. Your character is in the centre of the world, an almighty being who could choose to kill everyone and destroy everything from the face of this digital world. If you've had a rough time, video games give you a way to release your anger and frustration in a virtual space. Some people say that video games make people more aggressive and hostile, but I personally believe this statement to be false. Because you're letting out your anger in a game, and then you put down your controller, and the anger has been used up. But by releasing your anger this way, it might lead some people to entrap themselves in a virtual world, skipping out on social occasions or even work-related obligations just to fulfill themselves with a sense of purpose, even though it's coming from a virtual space. These people might even play for exceedingly long amounts of time, and perhaps could end up like the 33-year-old man in the points before. And that's where it starts to get serious and have deadly negative effects. Another factor that links to the two previous points is that prolonged gaming sessions could possibly lead to physical fatigue. In regards to people who play fairly close to their television, if you remember the old PS1 and PS2 days, inside of your game case there was a booklet telling you details about the game, but also a warning, wanting you to stay as far away from the TV as you could. Or as far as the PS1 and PS2 controllers would allow you to be. I have been a victim of this once before. I was playing fairly close to my television, and after a prolonged gaming session in a dark room, my vision started to get blurry. But after I stopped and woke up the next day, my vision was fine. But I ultimately learned the lesson: to not play too close to my TV in prolonged gaming sessions, and especially not in the dark. Although gaming does have its benefits on your eyes, and many other things benefit from it as well, and these things can have a positive impact on you. Now with your eyes, your reflexes can actually get quicker. When playing a shooter game for a prolonged period of time, you naturally adjust to the fast-paced gameplay, often scanning the peripherals of your screen as to make sure that no enemies are in your sight. You naturally start to notice minuscule movements on the screen, and progressively over time get better at the game. Also, with more linear focused games, developers really try and push your brain's capacity by adding puzzles that may need a long time to figure out. Puzzles in video games, as you can guess, help with problem solving, making your mind work in a different way to what you're used to. Someone might have said something in your game previously, and then you realise that that's the key to finishing the puzzle. This might lead you to backtrack and go to the place where you found the information. Or you might just have to guess where the puzzle pieces fit in the most logical way. Games like Portal take problem solving to a whole new level, having to use portals to move laser beams, turrets, and traverse the terrain. Portal really makes you think hard about the decisions you're making, because you always want to make the right one. I don't know if this is similar in any other countries apart from the UK, but recently the army has started advertising to gamers, perhaps trying to get those FPS gamers into the army to fight for their country due to the fact that gamers have heightened reflexes compared to a non-gamer. They might even want a gamer's puzzle solving skills, as perhaps the army might need it in some of their departments. The imagination of a person is the most beautiful thing. Entering a video game world that has such colour and character fuels that imagination to new heights, especially in children. Children playing these video games are able to explore and expand their minds. When children write stories in class, they can think upon things that are beyond real life, and create mystical worlds with magical characters. The one thing that I'd say is key to this world is creativity. Without creativity, we wouldn't have films, music, books, or even video games. As someone who creates all of these things, certainly must have creativity. In conclusion, although video games do have some negative effects, and some can be quite drastic, that doesn't mean that video games are bad all round. There are benefits to video games, sparking creativity and imagination to a younger generation, allowing them to become filmmakers, authors, music producers, or even video game developers. Video games do have benefits and downfalls, but I don't think that those downfalls should just be the picture that everyone is getting. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, then subscribe and turn on that notification button so you don't miss another upload from me. So thank you and goodbye.